Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. I'm reading The Wheel of Time for the first time and sharing the experience with you. This is One Good Turn, The Eye of the World, and today I am covering Chapter 10. A very fast-paced chapter. I get very frustrated with Lan at one point, a little frustrated with Egwene as well, but it's nice to see how well prepared the three of them are, Mat, Perrin, and Rand at least. And it's good that they were able to have a few moments to chat. I was very grateful for that. Let's get into it, shall we? Rand gets to the stable yard, and Perrin is there. He had been told by Lan to survey the area, make sure no one was there, and Perrin does that, more or less. Perrin doesn't seem to get the danger quite yet, not wholly, because he feels very confident. There's nobody here but us. Why would anybody hide? Care and long life go together, blacksmith. The warder ran a quick eye around the shadowed stable and the deeper shadows of the hayloft above, then shook his head. So perhaps Perrin is not quite as thoughtful as we've been led to believe. No, I'm sure he is. It's just an unusual situation. But Lan does not have the time to do a more thorough search. Mat notices Rand's sword, and he's got a bow, and Perrin kind of tries to hide it under his cloak, but he has an axe. So we've got Rand the fighter, Perrin the barbarian, and Mat the ranger setting up the party. Apparently, with regard to the axe, it had been made by Luhan for a caravan guard who refused to pay for it, so he got to keep it. There was a cute exchange. Essentially, Mat had been practicing with it, and Luhan says, well, I can't get any other use out of it, so you might as well have it. And you kind of get the sense between the interaction that it wasn't so much that he was practicing, maybe he had just been playing with it. Maybe I'm reading a bit too much into it, though. I say that, the passage is practicing, Mat snickered, but held up his hands soothingly when Perrin raised his head. As you say, it's just as well one of us knows how to use a real weapon. So maybe he was genuinely practicing, although who would be there to teach him? So, who knows? But Lan comes in defensively, saying that the bow is a real weapon. And it is. And it's good to have some range. He compliments the slings that the village boys hunt with. And he offers some wisdom that anything can be a weapon if you have the will to make it so. I can't tell if that's pragmatic or jaded. Mat doesn't feel that this adventure is quite like the stories, and Perrin asks Rand if he believes her or not. Rand explains that she had it right about the farms, how he had asked the mayor, and he's inclined to believe her. Or rather, it's as likely as any other reason they could be there. Mat is incredulous that he would disobey an order from the Aes Sedai, but he explains that he didn't really explain anything. It was more that he was fishing for the information. And he's surprised that Mat and Perrin hadn't told anyone. But they left notes, which I felt a little sad reading that. I do think that breaks the spirit of what Moraine told them to do, and you certainly don't want to leave a paper trail for the Myrddraal. So it's like, what could they have written in the notes that could be used against them later on? And I think that's the same concern to be had later when she finds out that he told Tam what was going on. And I don't blame them for wanting to leave notes, a goodbye note, if nothing else. So I want to know, I expect Moraine will want to know what was in those notes specifically. Then Mat explains, my father believes her. At least he agreed that we had to go. And that's when Moraine comes in, and she's aggravated, I think, to hear that he told his father. He defends himself. I couldn't go off without letting him know. She purses her lips, hence why I think she's aggravated. And did you also decide that a note was not enough? Mat and Perrin talked on top of each other, assuring her they had only left notes, the way she had said. Nodding, she waved them to silence and gave Rand a sharp look. What is done is already woven in the pattern. So woven in the pattern. It's clearly an in-world version of saying what's done is done. And again, I think in her mind, she's thinking him knowing is a danger both to him and to us. Because it's entirely possible, nay, probable, that the Murdral will stick around at least a little bit, I think. I don't know what she thinks, but I think the Murdral may stick around and ask where the three had gone off to. And that leaves in danger anyone that does know. The horses are ready, and then Egwene barges in and demands to go with. She comes prepared. I have everything I need here, including food, and I will not be left behind. I'll probably never get another chance to see the world outside the two rivers. It's really interesting to me that she's willing to go in this manner, that she's willing to leave despite the devastation that just occurred. Now, granted, her parents are better than most, I think, but I don't know. I don't quite know how to articulate it. It's interesting. It says a lot about her character that despite the recent devastation, she's willing to go. And despite the danger, although it seems she doesn't quite believe the danger. I'll get to that in just a moment, because it really did annoy me. Matt warns her, "This isn't a picnic trip in the Waterwood, Egwene." "Thank you, Matt. I wouldn't have known. Do you think you three are the only ones who want to see what's outside? I've dreamed about it as long as you have, and I don't intend to miss the chance." "How did you find out we were leaving?" Rand demanded. "Anyway, you can't go with us. We aren't leaving for the fun of it. The Trollocs are after us." She gave him a tolerant look, and he flushed and stiffened indignantly. Tolerant look. I do think Rand is coming from a place of caring here. He doesn't want to put her in danger. She says, "First, I saw Matt creeping about, trying hard not to be noticed. Then I saw Perrin attempting to hide that absurd great axe under his cloak. I knew Len had bought a horse, and it suddenly occurred to me to wonder why he needed another. And if he could buy one, he could buy others. Putting that with Matt and Perrin sneaking about like bull calves, pretending to be foxes, well, I could see only one answer. I don't know if I'm surprised or not to find you here, Rand, after all your talk about daydreams. With Matt and Perrin involved, I suppose I should have known you would be in it too." Rand responds, "I have to go, Egwene. All of us do, or the Trollocs will come back." "The Trollocs!" Egwene laughed incredulously. "Rand, if you've decided to see some of the world, well and good, but please spare me any of your nonsensical tales." That is what pissed me off. Really annoyed me. First off, the incredulity that she feels for Rand in this moment, but she has the arrogance to presume dishonesty here. To think that a tale of Trollocs is just a nonsensical tale coming right off the heels of a Trolloc attack and the fact that the three of them are leaving with an Aes Sedai and a warder. I'm not saying you need to believe that they are going specifically after them, because that is probably reasonably hard to believe. But the fact that they're going with the very dangerous Catspaw Aes Sedai, I would not immediately disbelieve that there is at least some danger going on. Maybe the Trollocs aren't after them, but clearly there is danger. Not to denigrate this as some sort of nonsensical tale. Shame on you, Egwene. Egwene swears she didn't tell anyone what was going on. Moraine says that she can come. It's hard to tell if that's because she knows that Egwene's probably going to follow regardless, or if it's because Egwene is a woman, or that she's concerned what could be said if she forced Egwene to stay. Different options. Lan pushes back, but Moraine claims it is part of the pattern now, Lan, and she's confident there is a reason for it. Rand again tries to impress upon her that the Trollocs will be chasing them because Egwene does not believe it, and Egwene says, "Don't try to frighten me off. I am going." Rand continues to try to argue, but Moraine claims that there is no time. Lan suggests she take the Gleeman's horse, but Tom Maryland's voice comes out of nowhere. "That will not be possible," came Tom Maryland's resonant voice from the hayloft. "This village has no use for me now, while on the other hand, I have never performed in Tarvalon, and though I usually journey alone after last night, I have no objections at all to traveling in company." It's really interesting to me. There is so much mystery about Maryland that I want to know. He has been so disconcerted up to this point regarding the Aes Sedai, so mistrusting of Moraine, and yet now he's willing to travel with them? There's more to this guy than meets the eye. There's a lot of mystery. I'm very excited. Lan is upset with Perrin for not looking in the loft. Lan tries to get a dig in at Moraine, asking, "Is this part of the pattern too?" To which she says, "Everything is. We cannot pick and choose, but we shall see." So now we've got the Bard. Moraine does impress upon the Gleeman the danger, and Marilyn responds, "If it is not too dangerous for the girl, it can't be too dangerous for me. Besides, what Gleeman would not face a little danger to perform in Tar Valon?" Rand offers up Bella for Egwene. It's interesting. I would have imagined that he either would have left Bella for his dad, which probably would have been the intention had Egwene not shown up, or he would have taken Bella for himself. But ultimately, Egwene gets Bella. We get a good interaction as he's helping her up onto Bella. Bella's not used to wearing a saddle. He says, "I still think you shouldn't come. I wasn't making it up about the Trollocs, but I promise I will take care of you." "Perhaps I'll take care of you," she replied lightly. At his exasperated look, she smiled and bent down to smooth his hair. "I know you'll look after me, Rand. We will look after each other. But now you had better look after getting on your horse." It's a very sweet moment, and a tiny bit embarrassing for Rand, I think, because everyone else has already gotten on their horse and is kind of watching them. And we get Cloud. Cloud is the horse that Rand is paired up with. He's the horse that the others didn't want because he's a bit temperamental, I guess you could say. But he's very spirited and very fast. I have a feeling that Cloud will become a character in this story in his own right. They all get spooked by a sound, which Perrin is concerned might be wolves, but we get some good info from Lan. "Wolves don't like Trollocs, Blacksmith, and Trollocs don't like wolves or dogs either. If I heard wolves, I would be sure there were no Trollocs waiting out there for us." That's good to know. Good bit of information. And the group starts to leave. They're doing so as stealthily as they can. They're trying not to bump into anyone, and at one point Lan comes to a halt. Boots rattled on the wagon bridge, and here and there on the bridge moonlight glinted off metal. The boots clattered across the bridge, grated on gravel, and approached the inn. No sound at all came from those in the shadows. Rand suspected his friends, at least, were too frightened to make a noise like him. The footsteps halted before the inn in the grayness, just beyond the dim light from the common room windows. It was not until John Thane stepped forward, a spear propped on his stout shoulder, an old jerkin sewn all over with steel discs straining across his chest. Then Rand saw them for what they were. A dozen men from the village and the surrounding farms, some in helmets or pieces of armor that had lain dust-covered in attics for generations, all with a spear or a wood axe or a rusty bill. The miller peered into a common room window, then turned with a curt, "It looks right here." The others formed in two ragged ranks behind him, and the patrol marched into the night as if stepping to three different drums. So that last particular sentence is meant to highlight that these are not practiced militias. And this is the point where I get very, very annoyed with Lan in this chapter. "Two Davul Trollocs would have them all for breakfast," Lan muttered when the sound of their boots had faded. "They have eyes and ears. Come." I understand, Lan, that these are not particularly well-practiced, battle-hardened people. But right off the heels of a very long story about how Emmons Field and Two Rivers folk are willing to fight to the last man to protect what's theirs, and seems really, really in poor taste. And what else are you going to expect from them with Trollocs about? Really, do you expect them to just sit there and wait to be attacked? They don't want to rely on you, clearly. They can't rely on you, clearly, because you are leaving. And also, maybe they will be wiped out in minutes, but the chance that one could survive and get word to the others to prepare is invaluable, or to run is invaluable. The arrogance, Lan. Yes, clearly they're not prepared, but at least they're willing to try. And clearly they need to try in this moment when there is danger about. Short-sighted, Lan. They continue on, trying to sneak about, avoiding what patrols they can. They're making their way through the village. We get a nice, good, archetypal hero moment. Rand peered at the high-peaked houses in the dark, trying to impress them on his memory. A fine adventurer I am, he thought. He was not even out of the village yet, and already he was homesick, but he did not stop looking. It's very sad. Eventually they make it out, and Rand is looking up at the sky, at the moon, and a black shape flew slowly across the silvery ball of the moon. Rand's involuntary jerk on the reins halted the gray. A bat, he thought weakly, but he knew it was not. Bats were a common sight of an evening, darting after flies and bite times in the twilight. The wings that carried this creature might have the same shape, but they moved with the slow, powerful sweep of a bird of prey, and it was hunting. So he had stopped, and it caused Lan to have to stop, which caused everyone to have to stop. Lan comes back and says, "What are you sitting here and staring at, boy? We have to keep moving." Half expecting to be told he was letting fear of the Trollocs overcome his sense, Rand told what he had seen. He hoped that Lan would dismiss it as a bat or a trick of his eyes. Lan growled a word, sounding as if it left a bad taste in his mouth. "Dragcar." Egwene and the other two Rivers folk stared at the sky nervously in all directions, but the Gleeman groaned softly. So already you get quite a bit of fear going on here. I am so glad that Rand did, in fact, tell of it. He hasn't told anyone about the nightmare yet. He didn't talk to his dad about the father thing. I'm glad he shared this. It was wise of him. And I think it's noteworthy that Rand was the one that saw it. Again, I feel like it is speaking to a certain affinity or touch of divinity, spark of divinity, I think is the phrase, that he has. "Yes," Moraine said. "It is too much to hope otherwise, and if the Murdral has a dragcar at his command, then he will soon know where we are, if he does not already. We must move more quickly than we can cross-country. We may still reach Terran Ferry ahead of the Murdral, and he and his Trollocs will not cross as easily as we." "A dragcar?" Egwene said. "What is it?" It was Tom Marilyn who answered her hoarsely. "In the war that ended the Age of Legends, worse than Trollocs and Halfmen were created." Moraine's head jerked toward him as he spoke. Not even the dark could hide the sharpness of her look. "Ugh! Such mystery! I want to know!" Before anyone could ask the Gleeman for more, Lan began giving directions. He wheeled his horse about and the others galloped wordlessly after him. End chapter. So much excitement. So much mystery. I am, at this point, eager for them to have a sit down, to rest where they are able to, and have the kids get whatever other questions they can off their chest. I want more info from Tom and from Moraine about what's going on, what they know, what they don't know, why Moraine was there. It would be really nice to have that sit down. I'm also curious, again, when Nynaeve is going to join. I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe she doesn't, but I could have sworn she did. So, we'll see. And, you know, even more than Egwene, I imagine Nynaeve would be more stubborn about not going because the town needs its wisdom now more than ever. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.